All right, think we're live. I'm gonna sit around and wait a second to see if the volume comes through. All right, all right, cool. It's working out. Sweet. All right, well, we're remember me when I'm back? I actually haven't been gone that long compared to some of the people that I watch on Twitch. I haven't taken too long of a break. I was a little busy last week. I was actually on spring break, and I decided to kind of take the week to myself. And I was doing some work, but I didn't live stream it. But I'm gonna try and stick back onto my plan of sort of documenting this whole portfolio sort of road trip, I guess. Process of me creating my portfolio, I guess, is a more straightforward way of saying it. But we're still kind of at the same sort of level that we've been at. We've kind of been working a lot on these chapter openers for my graphic design portfolio book, and we're still working on it. I feel I'm like totally like dancing all around the final design, and it's you guys might be looking at this saying like, why are you spending so much time just figuring out these chapter openers when you have this whole portfolio to design? And I have been working on that. I have been working on different spreads to kind of put in my portfolio showing my projects, but more or less that's kind of doing its own thing. The chapter openers will really sort of speak for themselves, so it's not like I'm gonna have to go and redo everything after I'm done with these chapter openers. It's just, I don't know, it's the system that's going to be applied to everything else aside from my portfolio book. Like, my book is the main thing, and when I figure out what I'm doing for my book, I'll be able to apply that to a resume, to a cover letter, to my website, to business cards, and it's that process sounds like it's difficult. Maybe the website's going to take some time, but taking that typography sort of visual language and applying that to a resume will be fairly straightforward. So it's not like I'm super far behind. It's just I haven't found a design that's what I want yet. I have this idea of what I want, and that idea, I don't know why, I was like this totally like clean Swiss design that I wanted to go for. And I guess maybe I was just naive in thinking that I'm the only designer that thought like a clean, simple black and white system would work for me. Everyone's doing black and white, so my teacher has essentially banned black and white themes for the portfolio just because the fact that everybody and their mother is doing a black and white portfolio, which makes sense. I don't want my portfolio to look like that thing that somebody's seen 10 different times that week, right? I want my portfolio to stand out. And also, the printing method that I'm doing for my portfolio book is the more economical choice. I'm using a website called Blurb to print it, which really nice quality, but compared to the other option, which is getting a custom printed and bound book, the price difference is crazy. A custom bound book, for one, average is going to run you about $600 to $800 for one book, and that's doing like a fair amount of good design to it. You could get off getting like a $500 book, still crazy. For Blurb, my book is going to be printed and shipped to me within 1 week versus a custom bound book, which would take 2 weeks minimum. So that's giving me another week to design. And those books run around $150 to $180 per book. And it's nice because I just email my files to this company and they get printed and it's in my mailbox 1 week later. Versus the custom book, which is like I have to talk to a printer, I have to talk to a bindery, send them my files, meet with them. Oh, is this the cover that I like? Blah, 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 blah. They turn out to be amazing, don't get me wrong. It's just too expensive and the process is way too long. But I don't know how this turned into a rant so quickly. I'm just gonna kind of my plan for tonight. What's my plan for tonight? Working on these chapter openers like I have in the past. I have some cool ideas. Just gonna kind of, what I've been doing hasn't really been sticking, so I'm gonna kind of just do my thing, try a whole bunch of different options, see what works. I'm gonna be doing some work in Photoshop, oddly enough, which I find to be a little bit easier just because it's not so it doesn't look so much like the end result, and it kind of gets me out of a different program. Maybe it changes the way that I think. I don't know if it's a big difference, but mentally it kind of provides me a little bit more freedom, so I'm going to try that out. I've taken some screenshots of some spreads that I really like, and I'm going to try and just really kind of Frankenstein those designs, and like maybe cut some pieces of one spread, move it around, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. So this is a cover design that I was kind of working on earlier today. So I really like this sort of blue look, and I know I'm working backwards, but this was just kind of me for experimenting, trying to figure out what I could do for my cover. At first I thought it would be cool to kind of do a plain blue cover and then do like a belly band of text on it, and maybe try that out, see if that works. This would be kind of like a belly band of craft paper, or maybe just do like a plain white matte paper, and then I would have some sort of text on here, right? I would have maybe some like numbers. I think this was for that one. Yeah, have some sort of like the chapter names or whatever. It was just an idea. I'm even a fan of kind of how this looks, just blue, and maybe not keep that website on there. And again, that's some ideas. That's not the main point of what I'm doing tonight. What I'm doing tonight is I found some pretty cool sort of screenshots for spreads, and I'm really going for a Swiss look and feel, which is very, very popular when it comes to graphic design, especially at my school. Everybody loves the freaking Swiss design, and I've fallen victim to falling in love with it, and I really think that it's a great system. It's very sort of functional. I just love the aesthetic of it, and I want that to be for my personal system. Whether it's for the best or whatever, I like it. I want that to be for my system. That's sort of my thing. But I see the point that everybody does this, and I need to kind of make it my own. So I try to find some examples of Swiss design, see how people are kind of pushing the limits of what they can or can't do with it, and I'm trying to kind of just piece together a little bit from what I've seen from everybody and apply it to my work. So without trying to copy anybody else, granted, I'm not trying to copy people. That's a whole nother issue, is if I copy somebody else, then that's not even creative, and then I fall into the same issue that I'm trying to solve, right? So not trying to copy people, I'm just trying to take things that I know that work, or I see things that I think that are working, and see how I can apply that to my own system. So the plan for right now is just kind of move things around, treat things as elements, and try to create some sort of a dynamic composition here. And yeah, so the main things that I want to achieve are A, does it look interesting? B, does it work? Is it functional? Is there a clear sense of hierarchy? Meaning, like, obviously on this one here, this big number 1 is the first read on the hierarchy. And then this, I would say this whole thing on the left-hand side here, you can't really see the bottom of it, but this whole thing on the left-hand side would be treated as sort of a cluster. So I would say the number 1 is the first read. This cluster over here is the second read. And then over here, the sort of navigation is the third read. So that's what I want to achieve, is I want to work in clusters. I like the idea of having a big number 1, or like these are more or less chapter openers, so they need to have some sort of a number to indicate like this is the first project, this is the second project, and so forth. So I like the idea of having a big number, making it very obvious that this is a break. So I like that. So I saw this was actually a GIF that I brought into Photoshop, and it split up all the different frames of the GIF. So this is actually one person's portfolio already. I forget the name of the designer. If I had it on hand, I would totally credit them, but I can't seem to find it. I think this is her name down here. I can't. It's like Mir some. It starts. Her first name starts with a B or M. Last name starts with a B. I don't know, but this is their work, not mine. But my idea was just to kind of take some elements and move them around, and I've already done that a little bit. I want to try maybe 1 or 2 more kind of ideas, and then kind of bring this into InDesign and see what I could do then. So this is the first one. These are kind of just taking some elements and moving them around. I liked this idea of having this sort of navigation here on the left-hand side, and then also having some details up here on the top. My worry with this is that it's kind of weird having this vertical rule and then this horizontal rule. So that would be the first spread of this chapter opener set. The idea is to have 2 spreads per chapter opener. So this is the first one, and then the second spread would look like this. I need to have small little information about sort of like what's the objective of this project, what's the concept, target audience, and that's sort of just up to my own judgment of how much information I want to include, keeping in mind that I need to go through and actually type all this information once it's done. So if I decide to include a target audience sentence, okay, that's cool, but I got to do that 9 times for all my projects. So I think I want to kind of keep it somewhat minimal. Maybe this is, I think, is a fair amount here. I don't want it to be too little, because then that doesn't look like it's enough, and then you want this book to have some weight to it, I guess, not like physical weight, but you want there to be some content to it besides just pictures. So my idea is to have like a big number like this, information about the project, and then also like a big quote, something that my topic kind of revolves around, is this idea of a lesson learned for every project, and sort of my main takeaway of what I learned through the project, and not so much of, oh, I learned how to fix my rags and how to look out for rivers and things like that. That's graphic design. That's what I learned as a skill for graphic design. I want this to be more kind of broader, like sort of the main like life sort of thing that I learned doing this project. And maybe, like, it's for like my income inequality project, maybe it's something to do with how I learned to expand my sort of mind when it comes to reading into different subjects and really doing the research to learn about the full story rather than just the things you hear about in the news. And if that's not relevant for today, I don't know what is. But just sort of that idea of like this main life lesson that I learned from the project. And that might sound cheesy, but I really think that you can learn a lot from your work, because you're learning, every graphic design project, you're learning about a new subject, unless you're like a in-house designer where you're doing the same thing over and over again. But you take on new projects or new clients, and maybe you learn more about the fishing industry, or if you do a fishing website, and then if you do another website for like an optometrist, you learn more about like optometry. You're constantly learning new things because you have to do your industry research, and you learn that way. Now, this is another idea. This is to kind of have the number be a little bit more stylized. I'm not the biggest fan of this one here, but this was in this gift that I found, and to me it just kind of represents the number has some sort of stylization to it that is sort of reminiscent of the project, or kind of foreshadows what the project is about. And I think that's important to have, so that way all these chapter openers just don't kind of, so that they're not all the same. They should definitely kind of all look as a set, but I feel like it's important for it to kind of highlight, or like I said, foreshadow the project to come. So if I could do that with some minimal stylization to the number, that'd be great. And then this would kind of be the second spread. This was actually just, I think this was just straight from her screenshot, just to have a quote here, maybe a photo, some text. So this, I think, obviously could use some work, but this was just sort of like an idea. I'm going to do a couple more of these, and I'll see how far I get, and then we'll go into InDesign and try some stuff out. So, all right, got to take the water break because I've been sitting here talking for 15 minutes straight and haven't had a chance to take a break. And as usual, if I'm ever looking kind of this direction over here, I'm looking at the Twitch stream. I got all my files over here. I got iMessage, music going on the screen, so there's a lot going on in this direction. I also have my mood board up here, and kind of over into this direction, if I'm ever looking like whatever it is to your left, my right, I'm looking over at my type board. So this type board actually has sort of some ideas for typography that I started this project with, and I don't know if I've failed to implement them or have implemented them poorly, but this is sort of my mood board, type board, I guess. My mood board is more photography, just kind of like the main sort of aesthetic. Like, could I see my book laying in a room like this? Or I'll just show you real quick. This is sort of my mood board here. I got the good old Aaron Draplin over here. I got some bookshelves. I feel like it's a nice sort of mix between homey design and clean sort of studio look and feel. So which I think is very sort of reminiscent of like my own room and sort of my own feeling towards design, which is it needs to be nice and clean, but it also needs to look like it was made by a person. Because if you sort of lose that human touch to things, then I don't know what we become. We just become robots that create designs, and there's no heart and soul in it, I suppose. So, that was pretty deep, wasn't it? All right. Well, we're gonna have a little bit more fun and make some cool stuff going on, or go on, make some cool stuff. Does that make sense? I don't think that made sense. So, all right. So I got all the elements in this group, so I'm just gonna copy that group, and then we're just gonna. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. It's just we're just gonna take some things, move them around, see what happens, and kind of hope for the best. So the main idea is to have one big page with a number. Actually, I'm not even gonna make that a limitation. The goal is just to have some visually interesting design and kind of playing with. I think the term is gray value. Yeah, gray value, which is just. If you look at something, how heavy does it look on the page? Like this bold text, I would say. Oh my god, move this, now my mood board keeps falling down. Alright, so the gray value. This text here has a lower gray value than this text here. This is heavier, it looks more black if you squint. Right, I mean like this text here is black. If I were to go and bring my little eyedrop tool, it would say it was more or less a black color. But if you squinted it, kind of look back, just because it's so tiny and it's spaced out, it kind of portrays a gray tone. And that's how screen printing works, right? If you're printing out a gray sheet, or I mean that's even how your printer works, right? Like if you're printing out a gray box, it doesn't make gray ink. There is no gray ink in your printer. You have black ink, and it's just gonna print out tiny little dots of black ink instead of many black dots. It's going to do fewer black dots, and that's what gray is. It's just a lessly saturated black, which means that there's less black on the page. It's not that there's a gray on the page, it's that there's just less black. So that same idea translates to typography and sort of the hierarchy and contrast of things. So there's more black here than there is over here. With that, all right. Anyway, we'll start figuring some stuff out here before I get too carried away. So let's see. What do I want to do? This is an interesting idea. This is way too much text for me, though. I like this idea of like horizontal text, or vertical text, I guess you would call it, but I just think it's too hard to read, and my book is going to be a little bit smaller too, so it would not have the same sort of effect. This is kind of interesting too, that it has like all these different, sort of like a list, right? What could I use a list for? I like that idea of a list. So I'm going to just sort of copy that page. And then where else could I place this list to make it look good? That's kind of interesting. I wonder if I could do something with that. And I don't know if you guys can see that bottom left-hand corner, but I got I don't know. I can't move this artboard up, so you're always going to kind of have this sort of like tangent over here. All right, so I think this is actually pretty interesting. I don't know what I could do with this yet, but I'm just gonna kind of leave that as is, and I'm gonna see. Does it look good with 3, 2? Yeah, I mean, whatever, same number or same type of number. You know what I mean? I've always been using 2. I think 2 is a nicely proportioned number. I like how it's round, but it's also got that sort of sharp edge that you could align some text to. 1's oddly enough are a weird number to use, just because it's so. It has a completely different sort of feeling to it, right? Like, just if you're thinking about the grid, right? There's. Oh my god, I'm sorry. This happens every time I stream. I start yawning. Like if I were to put that grid line there, like the 1 is just completely off. It's so weird. Anyways, that's why I start with the 2. The 1 is sort of that's the odd one out, right? It's the maybe that's where the phrase came from. So I always start with the 2s that way. It's kind of like a nice kind of even number to work with, I suppose. Okay, it's an even number. Oh my god, look at this. So I'm gonna say that's spread 1. We might move some things around after this, but what would a good spread 2 look like? So this one here would have. I'm just kind of interpreting this as all the class information and maybe some keywords. And then from that, I want to have a quote and some small information. I'm thinking. I don't like this text here, so I'm gonna copy this and just merge that. So now that text is gone. All right, so I think this. Okay, so so 2. Well, let's figure out what we can put on the second page before we start figuring out what we need to put on the first page. And I know this isn't my only options, but I'm just kind of. I've been so stuck on this, so I'm just kind of looking to see what's out there, what works. Could something like this work? Let's try this. What did I attach it to though? No, with that text over there, it doesn't look too hot. I think something that I like is the navigation on the bottom. And then the page number would kind of go over here. Okay. So then on this guy over here, I'm going to keep this text. I like this image. I like how this image is right here. I don't know, but could that work? I'm going to just try and do typography first, actually. Now I got this quote. I'm just copying that little spine right in the middle so that way I have a better indication of where the middle of the page is. Alright, so I got that. Yeah. Where did that come from? Oh, I can see. Okay, hold on. I got an idea. Okay, so I think something like this could work. With all the information over here on the left-hand side, and you got a big quote over here on the right. So we go from some large information. It's weird because you make the smallest amount of information bigger, and then the most amount of information smaller, which I think works. Especially because this is, if this were to be that small text next to that huge 2, that would just be way too much of a contrast shift. So I think that this is a nice sort of balance. The one thing though is I don't like how this big text is like that, and then it goes to being smaller. Plus then this space here on the bottom feels a little empty. And I still think this would be way too much text for me to have. Let's see, this could be like an overview. I don't know why the spacing on this is so weird. More or less, this is kind of the amount of information I would have. Maybe sort of like project overview, target audience, concept, solution, right? So I think that could work, and that's a fairly decent amount. This rag here is terrible, but let me fix that real quick. A little bit better. Anyways, and then I mean there's jumps over. What the heck? Alright, so then we got so we got that big quote. We have this text right here on the top. So that's sort of the shift that we're making. So jump. You think we could bring in that image from down there? Let's try that out. think something like that could be interesting, right? Having like a photo and... I don't know if having a bleed off the edge is the right option, but I think it's interesting. Maybe not. I think it looks better that way. Alright, so then that would be what, our option 2? Square 2. Set 3. I think this one's pretty interesting. Alright, so then let's review what we got. Actually, we got 3 options here. I think that's pretty good for Photoshop. This one here, we had mentioned that we don't really like the big border on the top. Or the border on the side, I guess. The border on the top is fine. You just gotta pick which one we want to keep, right? But I think for this one it makes most sense to keep the one on the top. Maybe this quote here is too far down to the bottom. Maybe it feels like you're just kind of getting pulled apart, and maybe that's not something we want. I think the set 2 wasn't my favorite. Oh, this is the one where we needed to fix that sort of second one here. I think if we just delete this paragraph here, we'll be fine. That looks better. Now let's try to make some of these in InDesign, and let's see what happens. So go ahead and open up our InDesign document. Alright, where was I doing? Got sidetracked over here. Alright, InDesign. Here we go. Let me open up my Lorem Ipsum website over here. Ipsum. You know, there's like a whole bunch of different types of like Lorem Ipsum sites you can do. You could do like bacon Ipsum, you could do anything, vegan Ipsum, and it just gives you like vegan words and like all different types of meat. Like, depending on which one you use, obviously, but I think it's funny how those things even exist. Alright, let's try to recreate the one that we just made. So, alright, we'll start off with the sort of stuff at the bottom, and that'll kind of just give us our bearings. So we'll start out just making a text block. We'll just start filling in information. I'm going to use Roboto. I had thought about using this one before, and we'll just try it out. So we're using Roboto Regular. Let's see if we use Roboto Light, and we'll go to Roboto Medium. Maybe the other way around. Actually, we'll just stick with the regular, and then we'll do some print tests. And if we need to go down a weight, then we will. But the idea is just to kind of skip a weight, right? We'll do 6. Maybe we can even do 7. Maybe do 25 tracking because it's so small. What's this deal? Oh, it's sticking to the baseline. Which we don't want it at this point. We will set up a baseline grid eventually, but not right now. Could you guys even see what I was doing down here? You guys couldn't see what I was doing at all because my stupid webcam is in the way. Here, I'll move it. There we go. I was just setting up this information down here. Alright, so we got that stuff down. Maybe we keep it there, maybe we don't. We'll see. This is all experimenting. Alright, I think I'm going to start off with a quote and then just a placeholder for that photo. So placeholder for the photo, we will do this. And then we'll go and put in our quote. Again, we'll go over here and actually we haven't done this yet. We'll grab the lorem ipsum. Roboto. Roboto is a nice typeface. It's different than Helvetica. I like it because it has the monospace typeface as well. It doesn't have a display face though, which is unfortunate. At first I was using San Francisco, which is this one here. Oh, that's italic, hold on. This is the Apple typeface that Apple uses. But I mean, again, that just has, it doesn't have like a mono or condensed face at all. Roboto is actually a little bit more condensed than San Francisco is, which might not be a good thing. What do we think that is there? That's so I would say that's like a 32. You know, I think I'm just going to cave and use Helvetica. I like Helvetica a lot more. I know there's some people that don't like Helvetica, but, you know, I think it's a lot nicer. I'm using Helvetica Noi, which is a little bit different. I like this one a little bit better, actually. And Helvetica is actually a little bit heavier of a text face, so I'm going to actually just take all this down to the next. So I'll do... Does it have a semi-bold? I think it just goes from bold to medium, so then this will make this one here light. And this here I would even say could just be regular, yeah. And we'll make the lighting, we're not letting the kerning to to optical. I don't feel like regulars. No. A nice little rag on there. It still feels like it's a little smaller. We'll just do this. How weird is that? I got it almost perfect. I think this is the same size actually. I don't know how to do the M dash. I got rid of my Apple keyboard and I have the Razer keyboard now, and I don't remember how to do the M dash. Oh well. The heck is that thing? Where I'm all disoriented now. What am I doing? Okay, so now I'm doing this. And actually, I'm just thinking about doing this now. Why is this being so slow? God, this computer's being slow. I don't know what's going on. It's always fine. It's just... But we will figure it out. At least I'm not using like I tried live streaming like 3D programs like forever ago, and that that was not working at all. My computer is definitely not set up for 3D programs. I've tried using Blender in the past before, and Blender is actually pretty good. I have a lot of fun using it, but when it comes time to rendering, it takes friggin' forever. So the main problem actually that I'm having with this spread right now that I didn't realize was my book is an 8 by 10 book, and most of these spreads I'm imagining are designed with an 8.5 by 11 or larger in mind. Because like, look, this book here, like, in order to have this text be some readable size, it should be at least 8.7 or 6 might pass, but for the majority of people, 8 points is probably the smallest you could go without it being too much of a strain. And the thing that I like is that this image more or less kind of stops on the end of that second paragraph here on the left, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure that out because I can't make these go too short, because you want to have at least 60 sort of characters per line, and that's sort of the average. But over here I have a website up that kind of tells me how many characters are in each line, and right there I cut it down. A 3-inch paragraph would be ideal. That's 60 characters. This is running a little bit on the short side, which isn't too bad, but it's only about 45 characters. And if I were to do anything shorter than that, it would just be too hard, and later on you would see the issue of running into of having rags that are hard to kind of balance. So that's an issue. So I'm trying to think what I can do. Can I try some of these other ones instead? I have an idea. I'll try this I'll kind of mix those two ideas. I think it's so weird how different elements react so differently in Creative Suite. Like in Illustrator, I could drag that point to the line and then just kind of drag it, I believe, right? Or maybe that's PowerPoint. Never mind. But I mean, there's even some tools that work differently than. Well, like, I get it that they're different programs, but some of the things should be treated the same way. Okay, so I was going to do this. I was going to have this here. All right. Okay, cool. What is B? B is content collector. What does the content collector tool do? I always accidentally hit it because I try to hit V, and I literally have no idea what content creator tool does. No, not Illustrator, Photoshop. Alright, so that's got a little bit of text there, and then that's kind of like lower, so. Why am I not a fan of how this looks? Why does it look... God damn it. Stop it. It looks better in Photoshop for some reason. Something's coming together with this, but I just don't know if I'm there yet, and I'm not liking how these are more oddly spaced than the rest, and that's a little bit better. Hey man, how's it going? Sorry, I'm like totally like just chilling. I get like quiet when I get focused. That's like this has always been my thing. Is like when I live stream games or designs, I'm like totally just like focused, and I like forget that I'm like live streaming on the internet, and I need to be somewhat entertaining. But I am working on making my portfolio for graphic design. So I'm a graphic design major in my last half a semester of school, and I'm putting together a portfolio book, and part of that means that I need to create some sort of a design system for my book. So I'm creating chapter openers which would separate the project. So I've had a lot of trial and error over the last month and a half of trying to just figure this out. And if you go and watch the stream later, at the beginning I kind of like went on this whole rant on like, well, not really a rant, but just sort of like an explanation of sort of my process. So this is sort of me kind of just taking some ideas and then just kind of seeing what works. And I've done a lot of different variations of this, and I'm just kind of doing some basic stuff right now, and then we kind of go back and refine. So I started off with some rough Photoshop mock-ups, and I am now kind of just translating those to an InDesign format. So that's kind of what I'm working on, are chapter openers for my my portfolio. So yeah. God, I cannot click buttons for shit tonight. Holy crap. My microphone, I move. Oh my god. I moved my microphone slightly lower so that way it wouldn't be so into the screen. And now it's blocking my keyboard, and I am just not hitting the right buttons tonight. Why won't that paste? Oh my god. See, holy crap, what the heck? Alright, well I think I'm going to end here. My computer is being really slow and I'm not sure why. It's frustrating me because I want this project to be over and a slow computer is not helping me kind of ideate things. I think that we have something kind of going on here. It definitely needs to be more refined. I'm not liking how small these are here on the left hand side. But I think that there's something to this. So I think this direction has the most promise out of the stuff that we've done tonight. These sketches here, I think, look good. It's just making that work on the page size that I need. So I have lots of stuff to try out, and I will probably stream again. Probably the next time that I stream, I'll have most of this figured out. So hopefully you guys will be able to see sort of like where we started compared to kind of like what we're gonna have in about a week's time or so. So fingers crossed that we get some more stuff done. I might stream again on Sunday. No promises. Yeah. But I'm not gone. I'm still gonna be doing the streaming thing. So yeah, don't think that I'm done. I stopped making videos because I'm still here. I got a full intention of showing you guys the process of this from beginning to end. I have some cool photos that I'm going to be editing. I did some photos for my my beer project, and I'll kind of go into my outro here. There we go. All right, so I have some more photos for my beer project that well, not more photos. You guys haven't seen those at all. Man, it's been a while since I did this. I took some photos of another project, and I need to edit those. So you guys will see that. That's going to be a lot of photo editing. Probably won't do the whole session thing on stream just because that's ridiculous. But I'll do like one photograph from start to end and kind of show you my process of that. Similar to the Xbox photography that I did, I think, last stream, I think is what it was. And so yeah, just sort of that really in-depth photo editing. I'm going to be compositing multiple photographs into one to get different exposures, different sort of lighting techniques, etc. And I think after that I will be doing the website. Maybe I don't know if I'll be doing the website just because there's a lot of like putting in passwords and things like that, and it's not really too exciting. It'll just be me kind of figuring things out as I go. But if that's interesting to you guys at all, maybe let me know and send me a message on Twitter or comment on the video if that's something that you guys would want to see, is like the back end WordPress sort of theme customization. It's not sort of this sort of design, it's sort of just kind of adding pages, making sure the font settings are what I want, and then just dropping in photos and text. But that's all to come. So thanks for kind of joining me on this journey, and hopefully we have some more exciting stuff next time I'm on stream. So until then, I'll see you guys next time.